Hi, this is Heloise, and I'm very excited to be able to share and demonstrate some of my favorite hints with you on this video. Ever since my mother started her newspaper column in 1959, it's been a desire to bring our hints alive through the use of television. It's one thing to read a hint, but it's really great to be able to actually see what I'm talking about. So, I've recorded these hints through the years and picked some of my favorite ones just for you. These are time, money, and energy-saving hints that I know can make your life happier, healthier, and easier. For your convenience, each hint is numbered and grouped into sections, such as stain removal, food preparation, laundry hints, and others. You can find a particular hint just by putting your VCR in the fast forward or reverse search mode. Or if you prefer, you can just sit back, relax, and watch from beginning to end. The handy guide that comes with your tape also lists the number and title of each hint. I hope you enjoy these helpful hints from Heloise. Let's get started.
Keeping track of all your family's activities can sometimes really be difficult. It's very important to be organized and keep a good calendar, but sometimes how can you tell who's going where? Well, if you'll assign each member of the family a different color pen, it'll help you a lot. They each write down their activity in their color pen. Then at a glance, you see the pink and you know that Sally's going to the Girl Scouts. Now, speaking of keeping track of things, we all know that you should save your receipts and your bills because you're going to need them later in the year. And nothing's worse than digging through a drawer. Well, what I do is that I go ahead and either staple it or paper clip it to the appropriate month. So this month when I pay a doctor bill, I take the receipt, put it with a paper clip on the preceding page. Then at the end of the year, I don't have to dig through a drawer. I know that they're right there and organized. Sometimes it's difficult to keep your address book neat because people are always moving and you have to scratch out addresses. Well, rather than do that, if you'll put the name in ink but pencil in the address and their phone number, then that way if they move, all you do is erase it and then write in the new one and it stays neat. But if you haven't done that and you've got the names and address in ink and your friends move, simply take a address label, put it over the name and address, and then that way you write in the new one and it still stays neat. One of the problems with address books sometimes is picking out the right name in a hurry. If you'll color code them, put one in red, one in green, the other one in blue, it's very easy to pick out one name without having to go down a whole list like that. So keep this in mind the next time you're putting in a new name and address in your book. I want to show you what I do to keep my cabinets organized, and it's very simple. I buy these little turntables on sale, and I get 2 or 3 at a time, and I put them in my cabinets. Now, what's neat about this is everything's here, and with the flick of the wrist, you can find what you want. I have my fingernail polish, all my extra vitamins, good things like that. Now, the other thing is I keep my cleaning supplies on one of these. You can do it in the bathroom or in the kitchen. But in the bathroom, keep an extra set of cleaning supplies. There's no reason for you to run into the kitchen to grab the ammonia and water to clean the mirror with. If you do have small children in the house, you should not keep cleaning supplies low where they can get to them. Put this on an upper cabinet, and with all your cleaning supplies on it, when you twirl it, you can get to everything very easily. I think this is going to help you keep your cabinets a little bit more organized and safer. I like to keep my things like this out on a shelf. I can see where they are. I know right where to go to get them. Now, before putting them up, if you'll cover it with a piece of plastic or put them in a plastic bag like that, then when you know what you want, you come and pick it up, remove the plastic, it's clean, and you can use it directly without having to rewash it. And this is particularly good for large pieces of silver. This is a great place to use those plastic cleaner bags. Slip it inside, close it tightly, it keeps the air from getting inside, and they don't tarnish as quick, and you don't have to spend all your time polishing when you want to use your pretty serving pieces. Give this a try. I think you're really going to like it. I have some hints for you today on the way to organize your pantry to make it very easy for you or any member of the family to get the item that you need. Now, the way I do it is I organize it by shelf. Up here I have all my fruits and fruit juices. The next two shelves are vegetables. Down here I have canned meats and soups, and then I have a special shelf for miscellaneous and the special items like party things. Now, if you want to, you can label them fruits, veggies, etc. And then that way any member of your family knows that if they want a can of green beans, they go to the shelf that says vegetables. The other way to do it is color code it. Anything that's red, meaning ketchup, tomato paste, goes on one shelf. Anything that's green goes on the other shelf. That can be green beans, pickles, relish, whatever. So if you know what you want, you go to the shelf with the right color. I don't have room next to my stove to hang a spice rack, and I hate opening a drawer or opening a cabinet and having to go through 5 or 6 different cans to find the spice that you want. So what I do is I put them on a double-tiered Lazy Susan. It's very simple to walk in here and with a flick of the wrist find the spice that I want. Now I have another one that I keep steak sauces and seasonings and things like that on. This turntable holds all those miscellaneous items that you never know where to put, and this one is for all kinds of salad dressings, vinegar, things like that. It's a great space saver, and I think the best part is that when it's time to go to the store, you come in, turn it around, and you can see if you're out of steak sauce or your favorite seasoning, and it's very easy for you to restock. Give this a try. I think you'll really like it. Every time you go to the grocery store, it seems like things cost more and more. Well, one of the ways to help you save on your grocery bill is to buy in bulk. If you can afford it and you have the place to store it, and you know that your family likes green beans or corn or tuna fish, and you're going to use it within 6 months to a year, buy 6 cans or even a dozen, because the next time you go back to the grocery store, you know it's going to be a few cents more. Now, when you come home from the store and you're putting your canned goods up, if you'll put the newer canned goods in the back and turn them upside down, you'll always know which can to grab first. And before you open any canned good, take a little towel and wipe off the top. It gets dusty and dirty, and there might be some germs in there that you don't want to get into your foods. And this will help you always have the freshest food on your table, and you'll save some pennies in the long run. Most people have 2 sets of dishes. Those that they use every day, and that pretty set of china that they put away in the cabinet and they only pull out for special occasions. Well, I think you ought to use your pretty dishes every single day. I mean, you picked it out, you paid for them, so why not enjoy them? But if you can't and you have to store them away, I have some hints for you that'll make it easy on you, because all you have to do is pull out the dishes and you can set the table without having to rewash everything. When you store your dishes away, if you'll cover them with a piece of plastic wrap, put them inside a plastic cleaning bag, heavy-duty plastic bag, even a plastic garbage bag, they will remain clean and dust-free. Now also, when you're putting your plates away, you shouldn't stack one directly on top of another. Either put a coffee filter in between a paper napkin or a paper towel, and that way there's no chance of marring or scratching the finish. Now do this the next time you put your pretty plates away. If your family likes hamburger and you know you're going to use a lot of it, when it's on sale, buy 10 or 20 or 30 pounds of it. It sounds silly, but it's going to save you money. Now, when you get home, there are a few things you can do that are going to save you time. Make up your hamburger patties. Do 5 or 10 pounds of it, wrap them, put them in the freezer, then you can just pull them right out. They're already done. Take part of the hamburger meat and divide it, and go ahead and brown 5 or 10 pounds of it. Put it in a plastic bag and say pound or 2 portions, pop it in the freezer. And this is going to save you time, because sometimes when you're in a hurry to fix dinner, you pull out the hamburger, it's already been browned, you add your green peppers, your onions, your spaghetti sauce, and dinner's half done. What I really like about this is that you're recycling. What you're going to do is use the plastic lids that come on margarine tubs and coffee cans and things like that. Or if you want to make a big hamburger patty, use the larger size lid. Now it's very simple to do. After you've divided up the hamburger meat into the portion that you want, a lot of people don't like to handle hamburger meat. So all you do is slip your hand in a plastic bag, put the hamburger meat on like that, then you take another lid, place it on top, and simply press and squish it around. Now another easy way to do this is to use an ice cream scoop. You just scoop up the hamburger meat, put it on there, and press the release. Now if you have enough of these, go ahead and make them up like this, stack one on top of the other, wrap it, and put it in the freezer. If not, all you have to do is peel it off, wrap that, and there's your hamburger patty. How many times have you grilled hamburgers for a large group of people, and the people that want theirs well done are standing there watching the grill and watching the hamburgers cook while everybody else is eating? Well, I'm going to show you how to avoid the problem. Save yourself some time and make all your hamburger patties up ahead of time. Then before you grill them, those that want them well done, you poke a hole in the center. It's like making a donut hole, but this is a hamburger hole. Then when you grill this, the inside cooks the same time as the outside does, plus the hamburger patty will cook faster. Now, for those people that want theirs rare, you take a small ice cube, kind of poke it in the center, and form the hamburger around it. Then when you put this on the grill, the ice slowly melts, and it keeps the inside of the hamburger nice and rare. And this is really nifty, because then you can grill at the same time those hamburger patties that you want rare and those that you want well done, and everybody can eat at the same time. Most everyone loves meatloaf, but not everybody likes to make meatloaf because your hands get all dirty. Well, let me show you how to make it and keep your hands nice and clean. All you have to do is use a plastic bag. Now use one of the bags that you bring fruit or vegetables home from the grocery store in, because you're going to throw this away. Put the hamburger meat in, your bread, your egg, your onions, green pepper, whatever you put in meatloaf. Then all you do is squish like this, and it mixes it all up, and your hands don't get dirty. This is a great way to get the kids involved in fixing dinner, because they just love to do this. Once it's mixed well, plop it out and form your loaf. Now, meatloaf may be traditional, but the shape doesn't have to be. If you want to, you can make 4 or 5 little individual loaves, or put them in a muffin tin like this, and they cook quicker too. Now, if you do make the traditional shaped meatloaf and you're putting it in the pan, before you put it in this pan, put a slice or 2 of bread on the bottom, and when the meatloaf cooks, the bread absorbs all the grease.
We all know things like sour cream and cottage cheese have a tendency to go bad quickly. The Heloise hint: store them upside down. Now, obviously be sure the lid is on very tight, but what this does is it causes a seal, and that way it stays fresher longer and you don't have to waste your food dollars. And another thing that has a tendency to go bad is hard cheese. So before storing it away, if you'll take a little bit of butter or margarine, put it on the end, wrap it, put it in a Ziploc bag, it stays fresher longer. And cheese has a tendency to get moldy. So if you will take a little bit of vinegar, put it on a paper towel, just a dash, wrap the cheese in it, put it in a self-sealing bag and store it, it won't get moldy. These hints will help your food last longer, and you don't have to throw it away. I have some nifty hints for you today on how to store your staples and keep them nice and fresh and dry and bug-free. One of my favorite ways is to use these large glass or plastic jars. You can keep your flour, sugar, whatever in there, and they stay nice and dry. And this is really great. After you've opened some spaghetti or noodles or pasta, drop it in one of these jars, put the lid on tight, it'll stay fresh and bug-free. Now, if you don't have all these jars, when you get home from the store, even before opening a box of rice or cornstarch or whatever, put it in a plastic bag and seal it. This way, if perchance you've brought a box home from the store that has weevils in it, it's going to stay contained in here, and they're not going to spread to the rest of the things on your shelf. Now, this is really a good idea for things like breadcrumbs, croutons. Even after you've opened the box, keep it in here and they'll stay nice and fresh. I've got some hints for you today for when you're cooking and you have a lot of things to chop up. You know, after you get them chopped and you have to use your hands to pick them up and get them to the pot or something, it takes a lot of time and it's messy. Well, an easy way to do it is use the lid from a plastic margarine tub or coffee can or whatever. Take your scissors and cut it in half, and you've made yourself a scraper.
scraper. And this is really neat. You can pick up the whole pile just like that, and it's real clean to do. Now, if you want to, you can use a spatula. Be sure it's not slotted, of course, and you can scrape up a lot that way, too, and do it in 2 times rather than going back and forth and back and forth. Also, when you're cooking and you have 5 or 6 different things to cut up, rather than use bowls that you're going to have to wash anyway, use paper cups. These little paper cups hold about, maybe 1/3 of a cup. So when you have a few little ingredients, put it in the cups, pour it in your dish, and throw the paper cup away. You know, the way butchers used to clean a butcher block was they'd pick up a handful of sawdust and throw it down and rub it around. Well, not many of us have sawdust around the house today, but you can use salt. If you sprinkle a lot of salt on the butcher block or your wood cutting board and use either a piece of nylon net or a sponge or whatever you have in the kitchen and rub it like this, the salt will help clean the butcher block and clean the wood. Now, if you do have a stain that's there, you can use a half a lemon along with the salt, and that will help bleach it out. Now, after you've done this and cleaned it, you must remember to always keep them oiled. Now, it's very simple to use a little bit of vegetable oil on a paper towel, just a dash, not a whole lot, and rub with the grain of the wood, and you can see how quickly it's absorbed. So if you take care of the butcher blocks, they'll last you a long time. Did you know that there are other things you can use your freezer for besides frozen foods? Now, one of my favorites is I eat a lot of popcorn. If you store the popcorn in the freezer in a tightly sealed jar, it'll stay fresher longer and it pops better. Now, another one is that we all know how expensive pecans and walnuts and things like that are. If you'll keep these in the freezer, they'll stay fresh for a really long time. Now, you're not going to believe this, but this is true. If you store your candles in the freezer before lighting them, then when you do burn them, they won't drip as much. We also know how expensive coffee is. And if you don't use a lot of coffee, after you open the coffee, if you store it in the freezer, it stays fresher longer. Now, one of these that's really nifty is if you keep important papers at home, insurance papers, documents, things like that, store them in the freezer, and if there's a fire, this is the least likely place that they'll burn. Fresh eggs. How do you tell if they're fresh or not so fresh? If you add a little salt to some water, put an egg in it, the fresh egg will sink to the bottom. A not so fresh egg will float, and actually we have about half and half here. How do you tell if an egg is fresh or hard-boiled or raw and hard-boiled? A raw egg wobbles, a hard-boiled egg spins. The other hint is after you hard-boil them, take a pencil, mark an X on them, even put the date on it. That way when you go to the fridge, you know how old the eggs are. You don't want to use inactive yeast. Take hot water, add a pinch of sugar, then add the yeast to it. If the yeast foams up, then it's active and it's okay to use. Same thing with baking powder. Use about a 1/4 cup hot water, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and if it bubbles up, then the baking powder is active and your cake will turn out nice. So keep these hints in mind if you want to know if your cooking ingredients are fresh. Fabric softener is really nice and it makes our clothes smell fresh and they're nice and soft, but sometimes it's a lot of trouble to use. Many fabric softeners say use 1 cupful of fabric softener to a cupful of water, then you have to take this and pour it in the washer. Well, that's too much trouble for me. What I want you to do is when this bottle of fabric softener runs out and you buy your second one, go ahead and mix this up. Now, I've already diluted this with the right amount of water. That way you walk to the washer, pour in the fabric softener that's already diluted, and that's all you have to do. There's no having to worry with measuring cups and things like that. Now, if you don't get to the washer in just the right time, or you run out of fabric softener sheets, simply take a washcloth, put a few dribbles of liquid fabric softener on this, and put this in the dryer, and your clothes will turn out nice and fresh. Are you plagued with lint and fuzzy things on your dark-colored clothes? Well, I have a few hints for you today on how to avoid the problem. The first thing and the easiest way to do it is when you're washing something that's dark, like a t-shirt like this, turn it inside out. Then, even if there is lint in the washer or dryer, it's going to get on the inside and not the outside of your t-shirt. Now, another thing you can do is that when you have dark colored clothes and you wash them all together, if you'll add a half a cup of vinegar to the rinse cycle, it will make the dark colors be nice and vibrant and eliminate most of the lint. If you're still stuck with a little bit of lint, when you put your clothes into the dryer, be sure that you've cleaned the lint filter and add about a half a yard of nylon net in with the clothes. The nylon net rubs up against the clothes and eliminates all of the lint, and you'll have nice, lint-free, dark-colored t-shirts. Big, thick, beautiful, thirsty towels really aren't cheap any longer. Well, I've got some hints for you today on how to launder and take care of them so they'll last you a long time and still look as pretty as the first day that you bought them. Particularly bright colored towels, they tend to fade. And these towels that have these beautiful appliques on them, if you wash them in hot water and dry them on high heat, it's going to end up shrinking them and they're not going to look very nice. So when you wash towels like this, and even these bright colors, wash them on warm to cool, and remember, you're using a bath towel to dry off a clean body, so the towel isn't that dirty, so it doesn't have to be washed in extremely hot water. And when you put them into the dryer, put them on tumble on low heat, because high heat is going to shrink this applique. Now, the best way of all to dry a towel is hang it out in the sun, but be sure and not put it in direct sunlight because you don't want it to fade. The first and foremost thing is get to a stain immediately. As soon as possible, flush it with cold water. Now, the only exceptions to the rule are if you've spilled hot coffee or hot tea on it, then you use hot water to get it out. Now, also remember, if you've got a stain like this, when you're cleaning it, don't work this way. Work from the outside of the stain in, because otherwise you're just going to spread the stain further. And also try and work from the back side of the material first, pushing the stain out, because if you do this, you're just going to push it through the fibers. Now, remember this the next time you get a spot or stain on your favorite shirt, and I hope it helps. When it comes to spot and stain removal, the most important thing to remember is to get to the stain immediately and flush it with cold water. Now, that'll take care of most of them. But if you have a stain that hasn't come out, I have a few tips for you today on some things that you can do at home before you put the garment in the washing machine. A very simple thing to use is a bar of hand soap. Dampen it and rub it into the stain, then toss it into the washing machine, and a lot of times that'll take it out. Now, also a real easy one to use is liquid dishwashing detergent. Put it directly on the stain. You may have to rub it in a little bit. You can even use a toothbrush or a nail brush. Do like that, toss it into the machine, and that'll work wonders. Now, if you have a particularly stubborn stain, you can always use dishwasher detergent. What I like to do is I take this, I pour it directly on the stain, add a little water, scrub it, toss it into the machine, and it'll come right out. Spot and stain removal doesn't have to be as difficult as some people think it is. There are a lot of commercial products on the market that you can use. Now, one of them is a pre-wash spray. When you use a pre-wash spray, please be sure and read the can and follow the instructions. You have to be very careful because a lot of them, if you spray it on the stain and let it sit for too long before putting it in the washing machine, the pre-wash spray is going to leave a stain, and a lot of them won't work in cold water. Now, you can make your own stain remover or pre-wash spray at home, and it's very simple to do. Use 1/3 of a cup of liquid dishwashing detergent, 1/3 of a cup of water, and 1/3 of a cup of ammonia. Only these 3 ingredients. You can put it in a spray bottle like this so that you can spray the stain, or you can put it in an empty bottle like this and add it directly. Before you put your shirt on, if you'll take some rubbing alcohol, Put it on a white facial tissue or whatever and rub it across the back of your neck where the collar line is. I think you'll be amazed at the amount of dirt that comes off. Now, I'm not saying you have a dirty neck. It's just that we do have natural oil glands across the back of our neck, and there's not much you can do about that. But if you want to help prevent ring around the collar, do the alcohol trick first. And if you perspire extra heavy, you can always try a little bit of antiperspirant. Rub it across your neck, let it dry, get dressed, and it'll keep you from having ring around the collar. Here are a few things that you can do on laundry day to get rid of ring around the collar. The first, and the one that I think is the easiest, is to use chalk. And all you do is take the chalk and rub it into the oil line along the material like this. Now what this does is the chalk will absorb the oil, etc. Then when you throw it in the washing machine, it will be easily washed out. If you don't have chalk, you can use plain old straight liquid dishwashing detergent and rub it across the line like this. Now here's the trick. Either use an old toothbrush, a fingernail brush, a hairbrush, whatever, and scrub it just like that to be sure that the liquid detergent gets down into the material. Throw it in the washing machine and ring around the collar goes down the drain. Do your wash day blues turn into lint day blues because of lint all over your clothes? Well, I've got a hint for you today on how to avoid that. The most important thing to do is you always need to clean the lint filter. Now, on different models of dryers, they're in different places. So find the lint filter on your dryer. Even if you go to a laundromat, it's important to locate it. And you want to clean this lint off. Look at that, because if you don't, this builds up and it causes the dryer to work overtime, plus the lint ends up on your clothes. Now, a lot of people don't like to touch the lint, so there's several ways you can do it. You can use an old hairbrush, a comb, and comb it like this. See? Or a lot of people use the foam fabric softener sheets after you use them in the dryer and simply wipe it away like this, and you won't have any lint on your clothes. Getting baby clothes clean on laundry day can be a particular problem. One of the reasons is because baby formula and baby vitamins are very, very difficult to remove. Well, I've got a home solution for you that works wonders on that and most any other stain you've got on a garment. Using a plastic or a stainless steel container, don't use aluminum. Put in 1/3 cup of household bleach, 1/3 cup of powdered dishwasher detergent to a gallon of hot water. Now stir this up until the dishwasher detergent dissolves. Now you're ready to put your garments in. If the material you're using will not take to hot water, let this solution cool before adding. Put the garments in, let them sit 5 or 10 minutes, pull them out and check. If the stains are gone, then you're ready to put them in the washer and dryer, and that's fine. If the stains are there, let them sit just a few more minutes. Do you like your blue jeans soft and comfortable and faded, or do you like them blue and brand new looking? Well, I've got some hints for you today so that when you do the laundry, your blue jeans will turn out the way you want them to. Now, if you'd like them to stay blue like this so they're all brand new looking, particularly designer jeans, the most important thing to do is turn them inside out when you put them in the washer and dryer. Now, what this does is that when they're in the washer and the dryer, the jeans are going to rub up against themselves and other things, and it's going to cause friction. So if they're inside out, it happens on the inside, and the outside stays nice and blue. Now, if you like your jeans comfortable and faded like this, go ahead and wash them just like this. But also remember, it's very important to always snap the snap and zip all of the zippers on the blue jeans. And then that way they won't catch on anything in the washing machine, and you'll have a nice pair of jeans. you know Heloise, you know that I love nylon net. I want to show you today how to make a nylon net pom-pom. Now these are really good for all kinds of things around the house. It's very simple. Buy a yard of nylon net at a fabric store and fold it over several times like this, and then take your scissors and cut it either with a 6-inch or 8-inch width. Then you're going to stack them one on top of the other like this. Now if you're a seamstress, you can run a big basting stitch down the middle and gather it like you do a ruffle. If you're like me and a little bit lazy, all you have to do is hold it in your hands like this and gather it this way. Then you put a rubber band around the center of it and you fluff it out. Do you remember how you used to make carnations out of facial tissues when you were a kid? Well, that's what you're going to do here. Simply fluff it like this, and you can trim it up if you want to and make it nice and pretty. And this is fantastic to scrub all kinds of things in your kitchen. Do you know there are a multitude of uses for this nylon net pom-pom, and they're very easy to make and very inexpensive. I keep one in the kitchen. Super for scrubbing pots and pans that you can't use steel wool on. Great for scrubbing out the sink. And if you have things where a little bit of food is stuck on something and you don't want to scratch it, grab the old nylon net pom-pom. Now I keep one in the bathroom also. You don't have to go buy expensive cleansing grains and things like that. Just take one of these and it's great to scrub your face. In fact, if you've had a sunburn and you're starting to peel, did you know that this will get rid of all the dead skin? It's super as a lint brush for your clothes, and one of my favorite hints is, on a rainy day when the kids are inside and about to drive you bananas, give them a couple of these to play with. They can play ball with it, and even if it hits the lamp, it's not going to hurt anything. I want to show you today how you can wash your windows, have them be nice and sparkling, and do it with things that you have at home. The first thing you can use is cornstarch. Put a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch into a gallon of water and use that to wash your windows. Or household vinegar is wonderful. Half vinegar, half water. It'll help cut the grease and the bugs. And the best of all is non-sudsing ammonia. Put just kind of a blob, blob, blob like this into a plastic spray bottle, fill the rest with water. Then spray your windows, and now here's the trick, is use newspaper to wipe the windows off and to wash them, because it doesn't cost you anything, it doesn't leave lint on the windows. Now the trick is, when you do the inside of the windows, do this way. When you do the outside, do that way, and you'll know where the streaks are. If you have a dog or a cat in your family, I'm sure you know how difficult it is to remove the animal hair from your couches and sofas and things like that. Well, there are a few things that you can do before you vacuum your upholstery that will remove the animal hair very easily. One of the easiest ones to use is a damp sponge. All you do is go over the fabric like this, and it picks up the majority of the animal hair. Now another thing to use is a foam fabric softener sheet, either after you've used it in the dryer or use a new one and the smell is there, and go over the upholstery like this, and that will pick up the animal hair too. Now a good one to use is always have an old or spare hairbrush. Do like this, brush your couch or sofa, and that's going to pick up the animal hair. Then when you vacuum with your vacuum, you don't have to worry about the animal hair getting caught in the vacuum, and you won't have any problems at all. And we do love all our animals, so don't keep them outside all the time. How long has it been since you've cleaned your wood furniture? Now, I mean really clean it. I don't mean dust it, but actually clean it. Well, not many people do. What they do is they dust. And every time you dust, you use spray wax, and you keep doing this over and over, and you end up with a wax buildup. And a lot of times, that's why the furniture looks dull and not shiny. So remember that if you're just dusting sometimes, just dust. Do not use spray wax. Now, to clean wood furniture, water is not going to hurt it. The easiest way to do it is use a mild liquid detergent and water like this. Put your sponge in it, rinse it out well, and then go over the table like this. Now you can also use household vinegar, 1 part vinegar to 2 parts water, in the same manner. Then using a clean sponge with fresh water, go over the table one more time to get up any residue. Then all you have to do is dry it well, wax, and your furniture will look beautiful for a long time. Furniture is a major investment in your home, and if you take care of it, it'll serve you well and last a long time. Well, no matter how careful you are, it seems like someone, even though they don't mean to, puts a glass down on a wood table, and then when you remove it, there's a water ring. Well, let me show you how to remove the water ring and a very easy and economical way to do it. Now, this sounds silly, but it really works. If you will use cigar or cigarette ashes and mayonnaise, mix it up and make a mixture like this, then put it over the water ring and let it sit 6 or 7 hours. Once you wipe it away, the majority of the times it will take care of the water ring. You can use petroleum jelly in the same manner. Now, the other problem with wood furniture is that somehow it gets scratched. Well, if you've got wood furniture that is scratched, an easy way that will usually take care of the scratch is to use a walnut or a pecan, rub it in like that, and you won't see the scratch at all. The worst part about cleaning out the tub is getting on your hands and knees and reaching and scrubbing and all that stuff. Well, there's an easy way to do it, especially if you have a bad back or arthritis and it's physically difficult for you to do. Once you pour your cleanser in, if you use a child's broom, you can sit on the edge of the tub, you can stand up if you want to. It's going to reach all the places that you need to. It even gets back around here where the tile is. Now, if you don't have a child's broom, you can use a toilet bowl brush. It scrubs real well. It reaches just as far and does a super job. And the best part is you haven't even been on your hands or knees once. Especially if you have someone that really has a difficult time, why don't you pass this tip along to them and make it easier for them? You know, plastic shower curtains are really neat, but sometimes they get really gunky and yucky. Well, it's very simple to take care of. All you have to do is throw it in your washing machine. Put in a few towels, half a cup of bleach, and your shower curtain's going to come out nice and sparkling and clean. If perchance it comes out wrinkled like this, it's very simple to take care of. Put it in the dryer on low heat for a few seconds, and all the wrinkles will disappear. Now, if you don't want to take it down and put it in the washer, it's very simple to get rid of all this mildew. Simply use pre-wash spray. All you need to do is spray about the bottom third. Let it sit for a few minutes, gather it up, run it under the water, and most of this gunk is going to drip right off. Now, the part of the problem with the mildew buildup is this little seam right here. If you'll simply take a pair of scissors and cut off that bottom seam, there's no seam for the moisture to get into. Think you don't have time to do a thorough cleaning? I have some quick hints for you to get you out of the kitchen fast. Believe it or not, your dishwasher gets dirty. Have you noticed that it's kind of brown and orange and gunky in there? Well, the Heloise way to clean it is to put about 2 or 3 tablespoons of powdered breakfast orange drink. I know it sounds crazy. In the dishwasher, run it through the regular cycle, and that gets rid of all that orange stuff. To keep your coffee maker free-flowing, and really if you have a hard water buildup problem where you live, put about 2 cups of white household vinegar in the coffee maker, run it through 2 or 3 times, then follow up with fresh water, and that will help prevent it from being clogged. And if you have a stainless steel sink like I do and hate to keep it clean, here is a favorite Heloise hint. Put a little vinegar on a paper towel, do this, and it cleans away all of the hard water spots. And then to make it shine, put a little cooking oil on a paper towel. You wipe everything down, and the sink looks absolutely shiny and gorgeous. So remember these quick hints to keep your appliances clean. Did you know that it's very important to have your sofas and chairs cleaned at least once a year? Now, it really is, because it will help you prolong the life of your furniture and keep it looking nice for a long time. In between your professional cleaning, or your cleaning it once a year, you should vacuum. Not just your floors, but vacuum your sofa or your chair. Put on the attachment that does this. Go over the upholstered furniture very carefully to remove all the things that are floating around your house. Not only is there dust, but there's cigarette smoke and who knows what else. And it's important to do this once a month, because otherwise it's going to get ground in there like this. Now, if you really don't want to go to the trouble to do this every single month, a quick way to do it is to use an old hairbrush. This is really good. You simply brush your chair like that. You're getting all the dirt and the dust out, and it's going to make it look nice. So remember this, and your furniture will last a lot longer. Midi blinds and Venetian blinds really are great. They save us a lot of money because they keep a lot of heat out and a lot of sunlight, and it's a good energy saver. But sometimes they're a real pain to keep clean. Well, a very simple way to dust them is to use the mismatched socks that we all seem to have around. Put one on each hand, hold it like this, and you simply go across this way and dust them. Now, if you want to get the inside and the outside, all you do is do this and put your thumb and forefinger and go all the way across. Now, if you want to wash them, dip one hand in a little mild detergent water and the other hand in clear water. You do this and you do this, and they're going to come out nice and clean. One problem with Venetian blinds is sometimes they're hard to pull up and pull down. If you'll check from the very top here and be sure that the cord is not twisted, a lot of times that will alleviate your problem. Hope you like this hint. Cobwebs belong in scary movies, but they don't belong in your house. And one of the difficulties with removing cobwebs is they're usually way up near the ceiling, and if you're my height, it's hard to reach. So unless you're lucky enough to have somebody in your family that's 6'5", let me show you how to get rid of the cobwebs without any trouble. The best way is to use a cardboard tube that paper towels comes on, or even the longer ones that wrapping paper comes on, and this is a wonderful place to use your old pantyhose. Wrap it around here and you can get rid of the cobwebs. If you don't have pantyhose, just even attach a piece of the paper toweling and that'll take care of it. Now, the best way of all is, you guessed it, nylon net. If you will attach some nylon net, either tape it or put a rubber band around it, to a yardstick, you can reach as tall as you need to get rid of those cobwebs. Now, one step better in its total recycling is to use paper, cut it like this, and throw it away. Leather is very fashionable, and if you take care of it properly, it'll last you for years and years. Well, I've got some hints for you on how to take care of your leather goods at home so they'll stay beautiful. Now, remember that leather, whether it's a leather hat, a purse, or even a leather top table, is skin, so it needs to breathe, and you need to moisturize it. Most importantly, never store a leather purse away in plastic because it can't breathe. Now, also, it's like your skin, and you need to clean it. The easiest way to do it is to use mild liquid detergent in a bowl of water like this, dip your rag or your sponge in it, and go over your leather purse or whatever you're going to clean. Then you want to be sure and clean it with fresh water to get the detergent off. Now, after doing this, you want to moisturize the leather. And the easiest way to do it is to use neutral shoe polish, petroleum jelly, or saddle soap, and your leather will be beautiful looking for years to come. One of the major catastrophes you can have in your house is if a water pipe breaks or if the roof leaks and you get a very large area of carpet that's wet. I want to tell you what to do about it. The main thing is use toweling and blot up all the moisture that you can. Stand on this towel. But now all you've done is gotten up the surface moisture. I want you to pull back a corner of the carpet and look at this backing. Is this backing wet? If it is, I want you to pull the carpet back all the way until you don't see any more moisture. And also check the padding. If the padding underneath is wet, you have to pull that up and let it dry too. Now, if you've got an area that's about this size, you can use your hair dryer to dry the backing. Now, that may take you a while, but it's going to be worth it, because if you don't do this, it's going to end up mildewing, and you're going to have to replace all the carpet in the long run. If you have pets in the house, I'm sure you've been plagued at one time or another with pet stains. I'm going to show you how to take care of that. The main thing is to get to this stain immediately. Take paper towels and blot up all the moisture that there is. Use all the paper towels until there's no more liquid that shows. Now, once you've done this, to neutralize the pet stain, use half vinegar and water on a sponge and squeeze it out. Now, work from the outside in. And you may have to blot a little bit, because if it's gotten down into the backing, you want to be sure to neutralize it. Then go over with a little bit of clear water, just once or twice, and then the paper towels again. And if there's a slight discoloration left, you can use a little bit of liquid detergent and water to get up the stain the same way we did the vinegar, from the outside in, and that'll take care of it. It's It's really upsetting when you find a blob of candle wax like this. Well, let it dry. Then take your fingernail and flick off as much candle wax as you can, or you can use a plastic credit card or a dull knife. After you've done that, take some paper toweling, place it over the spot, and use your iron on a low to medium setting. Now, don't put it on steam, and you're going to iron this. Now, what it does is it draws up the candle wax. You may have to do this 2 or 3 times, and it may take you 5 minutes, and you have to keep turning and turning. There you go. See? It brings it up. You may have to keep turning the paper towels or put fresh ones down. Then, if there's a little bit of discoloration left, all you have to do is use a mild detergent and fresh water, and that'll take care of the problem. One of the questions I get over and over again in the column is how to get out carpet stains. Now, the main thing when you have a stain is to get to it immediately with paper toweling, and you're supposed to blot up all of the moisture. And I don't care if you have to use an entire roll of paper towels, and I want you to put all your body weight on it and get all the liquid up. Now, after you've done this, if there's a discoloration left, use a little bit of liquid detergent and water on a sponge. Now, the trick is to work from the outside of the stain in towards the center, because if you go from the center out, all you're going to do is spread the stain. Then a little bit of clear water to get up the detergent, and then the paper towels again. And keep pressing and pressing and pressing until there's no moisture at all, and that should take care of most of the stains that you're going to get on your carpets. If you're an apartment gardener and you don't have an area to spread everything out, one of my favorite tips is I use a flat cardboard box like this. Put my rocks in one end, your dirt, your peat moss, whatever you need, and it all stays contained. Now, most people use rocks or pebbles for the bottom of the pot for drainage. If you don't have that, if you'll use these little styrofoam things that we pack crystal in and stuff like that, put them in the bottom until it covers the hole, and it works out perfect. Also, one of my favorites is eggshells. Save your eggshells, and you crumble them up like this, put them in the pot till they're about 1 inch covered, then you go ahead and add your soil, okay? Pot your plant like that, and everything is right there and it's contained. Now, the next time you're playing home gardener, use these tips and it'll make it a lot easier. This is a spider plant, and these little things, I call them babies. Once they get to this size, if you want to start a new plant, you pinch off this and you put it in water. And after a few weeks, you're going to get a nice root system. Once you've got your root system like that, you can repot it into soil, and you're going to get a beautiful new plant from a plant that you already have. Now, the same thing with ivy. Ivy seems to grow long and spindly, and sometimes the leaves grow far apart like this. If you'll pinch it off right at the leaf, it's going to grow nice and bushy. Then you take this part, plant it in water, and you're eventually going to get another root system like this. You repot it, and you have a whole new ivy plant from your original one. Before you make your arrangement, you should always cut off about a bottom 1/4 to 1/2 inch of the stem. Now, I use a pair of scissors because it's a lot easier than cutting them with a knife. And when you do cut, be sure and cut the stem at an angle, and it's exposed more of the stem and it can absorb the water easier. Also, be sure and pick off any of the leaves that are going to be below water level. Then when you do make your arrangement, be sure and put warm to hot water in the vase, and this will also have the flowers absorb the water quicker. Now, if you every day or so, if you'll change the water and snip off a little bit of the stem, your flowers will last longer. Now, a real good trick for flowers that are a little bit droopy is to pop them in the refrigerator for a few hours and they'll perk right up. And never ever put a bouquet on top of a television set. It's too warm. One of the problems I have is when I go out to the garden to pick flowers, I cut them and their stems are really short and they won't fit in the tall vase that I want to use. So I simply take some marbles, fill the vase up, add water, then when I put the flower in, the marble supports the stem to the right height. Now, if you don't have marbles, you can use a plastic drinking straw and measure approximately how high you want it to be. Then all you do is cut it to the right length. Then, when you insert the stem into the straw and put it in the vase, it's supported and the water comes up through the straw and they stay nice and fresh. I love having fresh flowers around the house, and I want to share with you a very economical way to have a lot of flowers for a little bit of money. What I do is I buy only one bouquet, but rather than put them in just one vase, I break them up into 3 or 4 different vases. Now these 4 flowers do look a little bit lonely, don't they? So here's the trick. Go out to the garden and cut off some greenery. Just a snip here, a little bit there, you fill it in and it looks lovely. Now if you have a lot of flowers in the bowl, then you only need just a few small little leaves to fill in the void spots. Don't be afraid to mix different types of greenery either. I think it's interesting, it makes it more attractive, and then you fill in the spots too so that you only have to use a minimum of flowers per arrangement. Now if you can't go out to the garden to get your greenery, you can always use carrot tops, radish tops, parts of celery, anything that's green that's in your refrigerator. One of my favorite ones is to fill the fireplace with candles. Then when company comes over, or just on a nice evening, you light the candles, you get the glow of having a fire, and you haven't created the extra heat. Now if you're going to do this and you have small children in the house, please be sure and put your fire screen up because you don't want the kids crawling up here and getting their hands in the candle. Now another thing to do is put flowers in your fireplace. This is lovely, either along with the candles or by themselves. And it looks great. And you can also add your green potted plants, and it looks green all summer long. Are you bothered by oil or grease spots on your driveway or garage floor? Not only are they unsightly, they can be dangerous if you step in it and slip, or they can really cause a mess when somebody steps in it and tracks it into the house. Well, let me show you an easy way to take care of it, especially a fresh oil spot. As soon as you see it, if you'll use some cat box deodorizer to sprinkle over the spot and then pat it down like that. Now, if you don't have cat box deodorizer, you can use sand, or you can even use dry cement, anything that will absorb the grease. Let it sit 10 or 12 hours or until you see the grease coming up. Then simply sweep it away. If there's still a spot left, all you have to do is repeat the process. Does your driveway or garage look really ugly because of grease and oil spots? Well, the main thing is to get to them as soon as possible to clean them up. If you don't get to them quite in a hurry, here are some home remedies that you can use to remove them. One of my favorites is pre-wash spray. This stuff is fantastic. Spray it on the spot, let it sit a while. You may have to kind of scrub it a teeny bit, and then all you have to do is rinse it away. Now, you can use household cleanser. Sprinkle that on the spot, or you can use dishwasher detergent is really, really good. Sprinkle it on the spot again, or you can even use laundry detergent. Once you've done this, you add a little bit of water, and then you may have to scrub, let it sit, and then all you have to do is hose it off like that. Now, if the spot is really bad, you can use household bleach or uric acid, but please follow directions carefully. What you need to do is utilize the free space you have, which is wall space. Now, rather than just drive nails into the wall, use a 1x4 and attach it where the studs are, which is usually 16 inches apart. Then you can put as many cup hooks or nails as you want in this piece of wood. Now, this is really neat to hang all your garden tools, your rakes. If you want to, you can even label this garden tools, house tools, etc. It's great to store out-of-season sports gear. Just hang it up. You always know where it is. There's no fear of hitting it accidentally with the car. Most important of all, always have a fire extinguisher handy. How often have you had a difficult time with your garden hose? It never fails, no matter how careful you are about wrapping it around in a figure eight or rolling it real neatly and you put it away. When it's time to undo it, you pull it out and there's knots and tangles and it's really a chore. Well, let me show you a simple way to take care of that problem. What I like about this is that you're recycling at the same time. Use an old tire and place the hose inside the tire going in a circular manner just like this, and it stays nice and neat. Now, if you're storing it away for any length of time, you simply roll the tire into the garage, place it up against the wall. If it's going to be there for a while, if you'll take an ice pick or a nail and poke some holes in the bottom of the tire, all the water will drain out and there won't be any chance of it mildewing or rotting. Then when it's time to use the hose, you simply roll it out, pull it out, and there are no tangles. How often have you loaned out your hammer or a screwdriver or garden tool and then it's not there when you need it? Well, I've got some hints for you today on how to color code and identify all of your tools so they'll always find their way home. My favorite way to do it is to pick a really obnoxious color, bright pink, lime green, orange, even purple, and spray paint the handles, all the same color. Then when someone who has borrowed this sees that this has a purple handle, they know that it doesn't belong to them and it'll end up back at your house. If you don't want to spray paint the handles, you can always color code them with pieces of tape. Now, the best way to be sure that these are returned to you is when whoever comes to borrow it, have them watch you write down on a list that John Smith has borrowed my screwdriver. Then in 2 weeks, when you need to find it, you go to the list and you know where it is. One of the reasons that household and garden tools particularly rust is that there is moisture, that they're damp, and then they rust. Well, an easy way to solve the problem is to store them away someplace that it's going to be dry. A quick way to do it is have a bucket and fill it with sand, or you can use a bucket and fill it with cat box deodorizer because this absorbs moisture. You put the garden tool in there and there's no problem. Now, if you're going to put them away for some time, simply add quite a bit of motor oil, or you can even use household cooking oil to the sand or the cat box deodorizer, and it will keep the tools from rusting. You pull it out, wipe it off, and you're ready to go. I think most of us who wash our cars at home do it to save money. Well, there are a few tips that you can use if you wash your car at home to save money that gives it that professional look and it doesn't cost you much more. The one thing we tend to overlook is the carpets. Oh, we vacuum them out, but that's not good enough. You need to clean them. Now, a very simple way to clean them is to use baking soda. All you do is sprinkle the baking soda on the carpet, rub it in well, let it sit a while, and vacuum it up. Now, if you have a few slight small stains on it, you can use household liquid detergent and water on a sponge, rub it over the stain, and then go over it with a clean sponge to get rid of the detergent. Now, if you want to clean the entire carpet, don't forget that you can use commercial carpet cleaner that you use inside your house. Spray it on, let it sit a while, and if you have a tough stain, scrub it with a toilet bowl brush. I just hate to get into a car that has a stale, smoky smell. Well, if it bothers you too, or you have somebody in your family that smokes, there are a few things you can do to help prevent it. The most important is that you want to put something in the ashtray. Well, sand works wonderful. Cat box deodorizer is great, or you can use plain baking soda. Now, what I like to do is mix baking soda in with the sand. Then when you put a cigarette out in it, the baking soda helps deodorize, and the sand is an extra added safety precaution because the cigarette won't sit there and smolder. You don't have to worry about it. Now, also, if the car still doesn't smell quite as fresh as you'd like, a real simple way to take care of it is unwrap a bar of soap and keep it under the front seat of the car. It will make the car smell nice and fresh, and you won't have that stale, smoky smell. If your garden hose has a hole or tear in it, do you automatically throw it away and think you can't use it? Well, you can use it. If it has a small hole or tear, now I don't mean a 10-inch gash, you can repair it. All you need to do is use a candle and drip wax over the hole till it's completely covered. Let it dry. Then using waterproof tape or duct tape, starting at the center of the hole, wrap it out this way. Then come back and start over where the hole is again and wrap that way so that you have double duty where the gash is, and you'll repair the garden hose. Now, if you want to make your own soaker hose instead of having to go buy one, or a good way to use an old hose is very simple. Use an ice pick or a hammer and a nail, and going along the hose, poke holes in it at the distance that you want. Then when you hook it up, you've made your own soaker hose and at no extra cost.
Nobody likes to paint because it's messy. Here's some hints. Always put the can on a paper plate, and this helps catch any of the extra drips. Take a large rubber band, put it around the paint can this way. It takes 2 people to do this, and what you do is when you're painting, you wipe the brush off like that, and no messy paint can. Now for inside, no one likes the smell of paint. Add a few drops of vanilla extract to the paint, or outside, put a few drops of insecticide in the paint, and what this does is it keeps the flying buggies away until the paint dries. And when you're painting a room, take the switch plate off, and right on the back of it, put a piece of tape, the brand and the color number, and then that way you don't have to guess the next time.
I think everyone's least favorite job is taking the garbage out. And one of the reasons is that it's heavy. Or even particularly if you use the plastic garbage bags, they're big and they're bulky and they're hard to carry. Well, I've got a hint for you that you're really going to like. All you have to do is use a child's little red wagon. Put the plastic bag in it, or even put your garbage can in it, and then simply pull it out to the curbside. You haven't had to lift, drag, anything. Now, if you do use this, be sure and drill some holes into the wagon. Then that way, if it does get left out in the rain, the water will drain out and it won't rust. Now, this is particularly good for elderly people, people that are handicapped, or that have a bad back and can't lift and carry heavy things. Also remember that it does work in reverse. If you have some heavy packages from the grocery store that you need to go into the house, put them in the wagon and take it right to the front door. You know, I think we've all had to struggle at one time or another closing a garbage bag, especially when there's a lot in here and you can't get all the corners together to put the twist tie around it. Well, the way I like to do it is to fold it over and then twist the ends together like this. Now also, I like to close them with rubber bands. They're easier for me to handle, and I never can keep up with the twist ties. What's good about doing it this way is that if the garbage happens to be a little bit heavy, that you've got 2 little handles to drag it outside by. And when you put it outside, it never fails that the local dog wants to find out what's on the inside of the garbage, right? I'll show you how to take care of it. If you will spray the bag with some insect repellent, or you can use a little bit of ammonia, put some here, and be sure that it's all over the bag. It will keep the animals from tearing open the garbage bag. Problems with making a bed in the morning is that it takes too much time, or it's difficult to do, so most people don't like to do it. You have to run from one side of the bed to the other side and tuck and pull. Well, I want to show you the way I do it. It's cheating, but it works. Before you get out of bed in the morning, scoot down to the edge, pull the covers up like this. Now take your feet and you straighten the sheets and you get your morning exercise at the same time. Then scoot to the top of the bed and go ahead and you're going to make the bed with you in it. Now it looks silly, but it's going to work. Pull the sheet up, pull the blanket up, go ahead and pull the bedspread up, then fold this like that. You sneak out of bed, the bed's half made, you finish making your bed, and it didn't take you any time at all, and nobody sees what's underneath the covers anyway. Buying a complete set of sheets nowadays really does cost a lot of money, and you know that you should go buy them on sale. But sometimes that's difficult because they don't have a full set. Well, if they've got top sheets, I want you to go ahead and buy them because I'm going to show you how to make fitted sheets out of top sheets. If you're a seamstress, you can put the edges together like this and maybe add a little piece of elastic, and it's going to fit over the corner. If you're not a seamstress and you're a little bit lazy like me, all you have to do is tie a knot in the end like that. It fits on the corner and it stays nice and tight. This is really good, especially if you've got a water bed or you have a problem with the top sheet slipping out. Tie a knot in each corner, tuck it over, and it's going to stay like that, and you're not going to have any problem. So remember this the next time you want to go buy some sheets on sale. Have you ever wondered what to do with these free sample perfume cards? Hi, I'm Heloise. You know, we get these in the mail all the time, and they smell so good and everything, but you wonder, what do you do with them? Well, what I do is I slip one inside the pillowcase. Then at night, when I turn down the sheets to go to bed, it smells wonderful. Now, the other thing is, if you've got some pillows that you're storing, or you have a guest bedroom that isn't used very often, simply put one of these inside the pillowcase. Then, when your company comes and they turn down the sheets, the pillows are going to always smell nice and fresh. Now, you can also use the fabric softener sheets that you use in the dryer. After you use them once or twice, they still have a nice fragrance to them. So simply slip one inside the pillowcase, and it's always going to be really nice and fresh. The main thing to remember when you put clothes away, whether it be winter or summer, is to always store them away fresh and clean. Now, this is very important because when you bring them out, not only will they smell good, but your clothes are going to last a lot longer. Now, one of my favorite ways to store sweaters away is to put them in clear plastic bags. Now, what I like about this is that I can stack them in the closet. Then, when it's time to bring it out, I can see through the bag and pick the sweater that I want. Now, the other mistake that people make is they come in, they take a jacket off, and they hang it in the closet. Well, you shouldn't do that. You should turn it inside out and either put it on a hanger or throw it over the back of the chair and let it air out before putting it in the closet. One of the problems with the closet and why it smells musty is that it doesn't have the proper ventilation. So, when you go to bed at night, or if you leave for work in the morning, leave the doors open for a few hours. Nobody's going to see, and let the fresh air circulate, and that will help take care of the musty odor. Now, to also help prevent it, you can make your own home deodorizer. Use a pickle jar or a little pimento jar, something like that, and you poke some holes in the lid like this, and this is a great place to use the cotton that comes out of the aspirin bottle. Add a few drops of your favorite cologne or your favorite fragrance. Put the lid on tight. Put it down on the floor, but if you do have small children in the house, set it up on a shelf so they can't get to it, and your closet is going to smell nice and fresh. When you take your shoes off, before putting them in the closet, let them air out. Then, as an added precaution, if you will sprinkle some baking soda in your shoes, it'll help deodorize it. Now, I use this particularly in my boots. Now, another thing to do is, this is a fantastic place to store your soap bars. If you unwrap them, set them on the shelf and let them stay there a few months before using them. They'll last a whole lot longer, and your closet is going to smell wonderful. So remember this the next time you have a musty smelling closet. Very few of us have as much closet space as we really need, so I have a hint for you today on how to utilize the closet space that you have already. One of my favorite hints is to double layer the clothes rack. It's very simple to do, and the best part is if you've got one down here that the children can reach the clothes by themselves and they don't have to ask Mommy to get out their shirt. Now, another problem in the closet is that the clothes rack gets sticky once in a while and the things don't slide. If you'll take a plastic cover that goes over the shower curtain rod, put it over the clothes rack, you won't have any problem with the coat hangers sticking. And one other tip, if you'll be sure and place them all in the same direction, if there's ever an emergency, you can run in, grab a handful at a time, and run out.
and I have some hints for you today on organizing your closet. Now, it's something that we should all do, but we usually don't take the time to do it. The way I do it is I organize things by season and by color. I put all my winter things and heavy coats and sweaters together and all my light summer things together. Then, when I organize it by color, if I know that I want a special white blouse, I go right to where the white blouses are, and I don't have to spend time going through the entire closet to find it. Now, I do the same thing with my shoes. They're all color-coded, so I immediately know where my black pair of shoes are rather than having to fumble around to look for them. The other thing I do is I hang my boots. I use very inexpensive skirt hangers rather than buying boot trees. And it's really simple. You just hook them on and hang them in the closet. If you've ever had to serve a tray of food to someone who's sick in bed, you know that it can be a little bit tricky once in a while. I've got a hint for you. The best way to do is before you put your plate and everything on the tray, use a kitchen terry towel. If you put it on the tray like this, then when you put the plate and the glass and the fork, when you're carrying it, things aren't going to slide around. And then even if there is a little bit of an accident, it's absorbed and there's no mess. Now, the other thing for people that are sick is rather than use paper napkins, what's really great to use is use your hand towels. The terry hand towels like this, and children just love washcloths, especially if they've got the little clown or something on it. They're really easy to use. You can throw them right in the washing machine and there's no problem. Now, the other one, too, is use the towels like this as a bib. You know, keeping little kids in bed and entertained is difficult because they get fidgety a lot and they like to color. Well, one of the nifty things you can do for them is if you use a plastic cutting board like this. They're small, they're light, it fits right on their lap, they can color on it, and if perchance there's an accident and it falls, it's not going to break. Now, the other thing is to use a tray table, which is really nice, but most of us don't have them around the house. Well, we've taken a cardboard box and a serrated knife and cut out 2 holes, one on either side. It fits over your legs just like this. You can make it any height you want. You might want to reinforce the bottom with some tape so it'll be nice and sturdy. And if you want to, you can cut it at an angle for an adult to make it a perfect writing table. We always serve soup to somebody that's sick in bed. Well, one of the problems with serving soup in a soup bowl and a plate like this is that it doesn't hold much. Plus, if you have a little bit of an accident, it spills. Well, what I do is use a gravy boat. And what's really nifty about this is the spoon fits right there. You can put a whole bunch in there, and even if it does tip a little bit, it's not going to make a mess, and it makes it easier on them. Now, the other thing is that when you're sick, you're usually not that hungry anyway. And if you see a giant plate of food sitting on the tray, so what I do is trick them. And if you use a salad plate or a little dessert plate with smaller portions, it doesn't look like there's that much there. I've got some hints for you today that'll make it easy on you when you're home alone, you don't have anybody to take care of you. One of the things I do is I keep an ice bucket by the bed, fill it all the way to the top with ice, and I keep 2 or 3 fresh glasses, and then my pitcher with orange juice or apple juice or whatever, and then that way I don't have to jump up and run to the kitchen every time I want a glass of orange juice. Now, the other thing is to keep thermoses. These are wonderful. I keep 2 or 3 here. I keep one filled with hot soup, and the other one I keep filled with coffee, or I'm really a tea drinker, and I keep hot water in it. Then that way, when I want a fresh pot of tea, I don't have to get up. I just add the hot water to my teapot, and it's right there, and it makes it a lot easier on you. Everything's right here, and you don't have to keep running to the kitchen. You know, I think everyone loves to barbecue, but nobody likes to clean up afterwards. And one of the messiest things to clean up is the barbecue grill.
I've got a few tips for you today to make it real simple for you to clean the grill. The first thing is, after you've taken the last hamburger or hot dog off the grill, if you'll throw it down in the grass and squirt it with the hose, now be sure that it's out of the traffic pattern, then when you come back, most of the gunk is already off of it and you don't have to scrub too much. If you've forgotten to do that, if you'll use a large, sturdy plastic bag and put the grill inside and add about, a half a cup to a cup of ammonia. Now you're going to set this someplace that's out of the way too. You want to be sure that small children or animals can't get a hold of it, and secure it very, very tightly so none of the fumes get out. I like to use a rubber band. It works a lot better than the twist ties. Then when you come back a day later and it's time to clean the grill, most of the gunk will fall right off. I've got some tips for you today for when you're picnicking or going to barbecue out in the backyard. Save yourself some time and steps. Don't keep running back and forth to the house to bring things out. If you'll use one of these cartons that soft drinks come in, either the cardboard or this good sturdy plastic kind is really the best. You can put in your foil, your plastic wrap, all your silverware, all the utensils that you're going to use to barbecue, your paper towels, napkins, whatever, and you only have to make one trip. Now also, if you're going to be serving drinks to quite a few people, there's no reason to go back and forth. If you'll simply use a muffin tin, you can carry a lot of drinks at one time. Now here's a really nifty one too. You know how everybody always gets their drinks mixed up or loses their glass? Either color code them with a piece of tape or put the tape on there and mark an initial on the tape, and everyone will know just which is their glass. When you're traveling with food, there are a few things you can do to make it very convenient for yourself. When you go camping, the first meal is always the hardest one to fix. Everyone's tired and you don't want to unpack everything, so do yourself a favor and take the first meal with you. Either take a casserole or something that you can eat cold, or wrap something up in foil that you can just heat in the fire and you don't even have to unpack one pot or pan. And when you're traveling with a salad, you'd like to keep it nice and crisp. Well, if you have a set of bowls that fit inside of each other, you can put ice in the large bowl, put your salad in this one, put the ice in it, and when you travel with the salad, it stays nice and fresh. And the same thing you can do with a double boiler. Put your ice in the bottom, put whatever you're going to carry, like potato salad, in the top. When you get to your destination, it stays fresh, and there's no chance of it spoiling at all. When you go camping or on a picnic, you want to make it as easy on yourself as possible. Well, one way to do that is not have to carry a lot of weight. There's no reason to take a giant jar of mayonnaise or relish or mustard when you know the chances of using the whole jar are very, very slim. So what you do is plan ahead and use the plastic margarine tubs and put the mayonnaise or whatever in this tub, snap on the lid, and carry this. If you've got a large family, use the large size. Now on a picnic, there's a problem with everybody opening the jars and doing this. Use a muffin tin and put everything in like this out on the table. Then you can cover it with plastic wrap when you're finished, but if someone wants to make a sandwich a little bit later, everything's out. If you don't have a muffin tin, you can always use paper cups like this, group them together, and the same thing holds, that all you have to do is put some plastic wrap over it and it'll keep the flies off. Now remember to make it as easy on yourself as possible because you want to enjoy the day too. Camping really is a lot of fun, but sometimes it's hard to find a place to shower or change clothes. Let me show you what to do. Take along a plastic hula hoop and suspend it from a tree limb like this. Then you also take along 2 plastic shower curtains and simply hook the shower curtain around the hula hoop. Then you have a place to shower or change clothes, and it's all nice and private. And all you have to do to turn this into a shower is run a hose up over the tree limb inside. Now the kids like this in the backyard when they pretend they're camping. If you don't have a hula hoop, you can use an umbrella. Simply turn it upside down and hook the shower curtain around like this. Now it's a good idea if you're using this for children to be sure and pad this just in case. And also don't forget, if it rains, this is going to catch with water. So if it's an old umbrella, you can poke holes in it so that the water will drain out, and if not, take it down when it looks like it's going to thunder. Camping out and going on a picnic is a lot of fun, but when it comes time to eat, when the ants show up to help you with your lunch, it's not very fun. Well, let me show you how to prevent that problem. If you'll take along some plastic margarine tubs or tin cans, or in desperation if you've not taken these with you, you can use a paper cup. Fill it with water and then set the table legs in one of these containers. Now, if you don't have small children or pets that might get to the water, you can add a dash of kerosene or bug repellent or even a little bit of vinegar to the water. And one of the other problems is flies. They drive you bananas. Well, if you've got one in particular that's bothering you and you don't have bug spray, you can simply use some hairspray to spray the fly and it will kill it. Now also, to keep the flies away from the picnic table, if you will wipe the table down with vinegar or put a few bowls around the corners, they won't bother you at all. You throw your soap slivers away. Well, you shouldn't, because you're throwing money away. So I want to show you what to do when the bar of soap gets down to a little piece like this. When you unwrap the new bar of soap, wet this one, wet this, press it together like this and let it dry. Then the little soap sliver has adhered to the big bar of soap and you haven't wasted anything. Now, if you want to, you can take a piece of nylon net and cut it about 8 inches wide. Slip the little teeny piece of soap in there, tie a knot in each end, and you have a back scrubber for in the shower. Now, another thing to do with soap slivers, or a new size bar of soap if you want, is take the bar of soap or your slivers, drop them in the bottom part of a pair of pantyhose. Tie a knot in it, and this is great for camping. You tie it around the outside faucet, and the little kids don't have to run into the house to wash their hands all the time. How many times have you moved a picture from one place to another, or made a mistake when you've hung a picture and you take the picture hanger out and you're left with a big hole in your wall? Well, let me show you a very easy home remedy to take care of it. All you do is take an aspirin and you crunch it up with the back of a spoon like this and make a relatively fine powder. Then wet the end of your finger and gather enough powder that you think will fill the hole and simply pat it in. Now, you may have to do this again if it's a pretty big hole. But just to pat it in like that, then you brush away the difference, and no one is ever going to know that you made a mistake. Now, if you have green or blue walls, an easy way to do it too is you can use toothpaste, because toothpaste is colored. So pick the color of toothpaste that matches your walls, pat it in there, let it dry. You can kind of buff around the edges, and you won't have any holes in your walls that anyone can see. Beauty may be in the eye of the beholder, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to look beautiful. You have things in your pantry that can do the job. One of my favorites, baking soda. This, along with salt or sugar, can be used to clean your face. What I do is take a little bit of mineral oil, or you can use vegetable oil. Sprinkle some salt, or put the sugar or baking soda in it, and you make a nice little paste that you clean your face with. It gets rid of all the dirt, gets rid of the dead skin. Then your skin is nice and soft, and you haven't spent a lot of money. And if you're prone to acne, or you want a home-style facial, use a little milk of magnesia on a cotton ball, dab it on your face, let it dry 5 or 10 minutes, and rinse with cool water. Now, there's no reason to spend a lot of money on fancy eye creams. Basically, all they are is mineral oil, etc. Take a vitamin E capsule, poke a hole in it, very gently pat it around your eye, and it works. If you're one of those lucky people that gets to enjoy a fireplace, I'm sure you're aware of how much wood costs, and we all know that it's going to be costing more and more. Well, let me show you today how to make your own logs out of newspaper. And what's really nifty about this is that you're recycling, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. The trick is that when you're putting your newspapers in a stack like this to roll them, place every other one with the folded edge like this, so the stack is nice and flat as opposed to having a big bunk at one end. Now, when you're rolling these, I want you to roll them as tightly as you can, because you want to make this nice and compact. Now, you can use either a tuna fish can or a pineapple can as opposed to tying it with string like this, and put the log this way through here. Now, what I want you to do is place these outside and either let them get rained on and get wet, or sprinkle them with your hose and then let them dry before using them, and they'll burn more efficiently. Fire Fireplace safety is very important, and there are a few simple rules for you to follow that will allow you to enjoy your fireplace and not worry about it. The most important thing is that you should always open the flue before lighting a fire. Well, the reason that people don't do this is they don't see the handle. They light the fire, the house fills up with smoke, there's even a danger of the flames coming from the fireplace going out into the carpet, and at that point it's difficult to reach over a fire to open the flue. So what you need to do is you need to attach something to the handle that will draw your attention. Anything. You can use a handkerchief, you can use a string, even a paper towel. Anything that will draw your eye to the flue handle so you know to open it before lighting a fire. Now when the fire is not in use and you're not using your fireplace, the flue needs to stay closed. If you have a problem with things crawling down into the chimney, simply put a screen over the top, smoke goes out, and nothing falls in. How many times have you tried to hang a picture and you drive the nail in the wall and end up hitting your thumb? Well, let me show you how to avoid that. After you've marked on the wall where you know you want to hang your picture and where you want the nail to go, put the nail through a piece of paper or 3x5 card, anything that will support the weight of the nail. Then simply tap the nail in once. Now, for the rest of it, hold the card. Simply tap like that and there's no danger of you hitting your thumb. Now, the other problem that a lot of people have, particularly on sheetrock, is that when you put a nail in, the sheetrock tends to crumble. To avoid that, put a piece of transparent tape over where you're going to put the nail in, hang your picture. Then when it's time for you to remove the picture, you simply peel the tape off and the sheetrock will not crumble. The most important thing to remember when hanging pictures is always measure correctly, and if you will simply use a pencil to mark, it erases like that. One of the first things you do to trim the old budget is cut back on some of the luxuries and some of the little special things that make life nice. It seems like the first thing to go is the subscriptions for magazines. I mean, they're informative, you would enjoy them, but 5 or 6 magazines a month can really affect your budget. Well, here's the way to have the magazines you like to read and they don't cost you anything. What you do is you have a shared subscription. Either your neighbor next door or some good friends, one of you orders one magazine at a time. Then you trade the magazines off. Now, a problem sometimes is that the whole family hasn't read the magazine. What my husband and I do is that when I finished reading a magazine, I turn down the front corner. Then when he gets the magazine, he knows that means that I'm finished with it. Now, when he's finished reading the magazine, he turns down the back corner. Then I know that I can pass this along and everyone's enjoyed the subscription. If you have a sliding glass door in your house, you know how enjoyable they are because you get to see outside and look at your garden or your patio, but they can also be very dangerous. Many people have walked into and through a sliding glass door because they thought it was open. So to avoid this in your house, if you will simply put a decal on the sliding glass door in the middle, they'll see this and know that the door is closed. Now, if you don't want to attach one of these decals permanently, this is a perfect spot for grandmother or even mother to display pictures of the little ones. Simply tape it up there, you see the picture, you know that the door is closed. Now also remember too that your eye level is here, but the little ones that run in and out and never seem to stop and think, they have to see down here. So if you've got little ones in your house, put a picture at their eye level and be safe and never sorry. If your animal is large enough, you can take their pill, and if you'll wrap it up inside a piece of luncheon meat or roll it up inside of a piece of hamburger, they'll eat this whole thing and not even know they've had any medication at all. Now, if you have a smaller pet like I do, this is Tequila, and she's 12 years old. It's hard to give her a big pill, but she loves butter. So I take a little bit of butter, and I put it on my finger, and I let her lick it off first. Then I take the pill and roll it inside the butter and give it to her, and she swallows the whole thing without any hassles at all. Now, a lot of dogs love peanut butter, or you can do the same with cheese. If you'll press the pill inside the piece of cheese, give it to them, they'll swallow the whole thing, and there won't be any hassles for you or your pet. If you have a piece of leather-topped furniture, it's probably very special to you. Well, I've got a few home remedies on how to take care of it and keep it nice looking. You know, it never fails that someone sets a glass down, you get a water ring, or they place something on top of it and it scratches. Well, let me show you what to do. But now remember, if you've got an antique piece of furniture, please take it to a professional. This is for the things that you and I use every day. One of my favorite ways to get rid of these scratches and little mars is to use brown shoe polish. Simply put it on a cloth and kind of rub it into the spot, and you may have to let it sit for a few minutes to soak in. Now, if perchance that it colors it too dark, you can take the brown shoe polish and lightly go over the entire piece of leather, then buff it with a cloth. After doing this, and this is also a good way to keep your leather looking nice, is you can cover it with neutral shoe polish or saddle soap, and it'll stay beautiful looking for a long time. Stainless steel sinks really are nice, but sometimes they take a little bit of extra care to keep them looking pretty. So here's some hints for you to have your stainless steel sink look nice all the time. Now, you should never use abrasive cleansers on a stainless steel sink because you're going to end up scratching it. What you use instead is baking soda. Just sprinkle it in like you do your powdered cleanser. Use your sponge or whatever. Scrub and rub and clean the sink. Now, if you have a spot that is a little bit tough to get out, you can use dishwasher detergent, the powdered kind. Sprinkle it in, scrub that spot away. Now, one of the problems with stainless steel sinks is they spot. Well, it's very easy to take care of. If you'll use a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel and rub away the spots, it will stay nice and shiny and sparkling. And the final tip is, after it's all clean and dry, put a little bit of cooking oil on a paper towel, run it around the sink, and it'll sparkle like new.
Nearly every office in America now has a fax machine. Here are some helpful fax hints that my office has found invaluable. You know what ends up being a major waste of paper is fax cover sheets. How many times do you have a full page that is a fax cover sheet, and what do you write on it? To Ken from Heloise. One thing to do is you get a plastic sleeve like this. You do a blank or a generic cover sheet, and you put the sleeve in here, and you use a dry erasable marker on it, and you can write to Ken from Heloise, number of pages 1. Then this whole thing goes in the fax machine. All you do is use an eraser like this, and you can use this one over and over and over again. The other thing we've done in my office also is, again, full page cover pages are just a waste of paper. So we designed half-page ones, and you can print this on front and back, and sometimes you can do them almost like inner office memos. The other thing, too, is how many times you say, where's the fax number to so-and-so? So we have sitting next to our fax machine a phone card file that is nothing but fax numbers. And it sits there, you flip it back, and there's the number easily. Be sure and cross-reference, because sometimes you'll say, fax it to XYZ Corporation, but you remember it as Mr. Johns or Mr. Jones. So be sure and cross-reference so it's easy to get to. And then the final hint that's very important in today's fax age is, if you're faxing financial or confidential information, you want to be absolutely sure that it gets there. So many times we put a little sticky on the page that we simply say, please call or fax back to confirm you received this. And the final hint, that if you really don't even want to mess with these or these, if you're sending this 1 or 2 pages directly into a single person office or a very small office, you don't even need a fax cover sheet at all. Simply put a sticky on it, put down to Ken from Heloise, 4 pages, and zip it through. In our day and age, it's almost impossible to run an office without a computer, and keeping them clean and dust-free can be a constant battle. But here are some really easy hints to keep your screen and keyboard in tip-top shape. How many times have you cleaned your keyboard? I bet you haven't. First hint is, and you will be appalled, turn it upside down, and if you simply do this, you're going to be amazed if the dust comes out. One thing we do in our office is we use a clean old makeup brush. And if you want to turn it upside down and go across the keys like this, all right? If you don't want to do that, or you think it's clean, This is a good use for an eraser that has a little bit stiffer brush on it, is you can go down the keys like this. Let me tell you, the dust that comes out of there. Now, the old-fashioned typewriters, we used to have typewriter covers to keep dust off the typewriter. Well, the same principle follows on a keyboard. So in our office, one of our office staff crocheted what we call a keyboard cover, and if you put that on every night when you leave, it'll keep the dust off. If, however, you forget to do that, or you're a little lazy, if when you turn the computer off, if the last thing you do is either pick up a piece of paper or something that's on the desk and at least cover the keys like that, that is a very inexpensive dust cover for the keyboard. The other thing is the computer itself, the screen and around gets really yucky and dirty. Well, you really should clean it occasionally. You can use rubbing alcohol on a soft cloth, and you want it just really slightly damp. Now, what rubbing alcohol does is it helps remove ink from our clothes, so it will remove it from your computer screen. Don't use it on the screen directly here, but around like this. So I think these computer hints are going to make your life a little bit easier. One of the most important tools in the office that is often overlooked is the telephone. And how often do you ever think about cleaning your telephone? Well, let me tell you, it can get pretty bad. Particularly during the cold and flu season, you want to be sure and clean the mouthpiece. So one way to do it is to take rubbing alcohol, put it on a soft cloth, and you want it not too wet, slightly damp. You want to wipe off all the areas that people touch. The other way is, if you don't have that, every office should have one. Buy a box of them. They're cheap. Is moist towelettes. They have a little bit of a cleaning agent in it, and they have rubbing alcohol. So you can quickly wipe that off. It takes off fingerprints, cleans your hands at the same time. And many times, sometimes it gets a little dusty here. We use the trusty clean makeup brush to go through and dust it and make it nice and clean. We all want our office to run neatly and efficiently, and here are a few hints that will help. One thing we all use is file folders. An economical way to use and reuse them is, once you've used this and you want to get rid of this, you simply take a new little sticky and you put over it and you rewrite that. And you're saying, well, I know that, but I bet you don't know this one. Say you've done that 5 or 6 times. You turn the folder inside out, and you have a sticky on the outside, and you have a whole new folder to use. Recycling and money saving at the same time. And recycling and money saving. How much computer paper do you have around? Well, computer paper that has nothing important on the back, or scrap pieces of paper. If you have a paper cutter, cut them. You can make your own little notepads. You can take these home to the kids. The office manager won't say anything. Every office should have a sewing kit. Here's the hint. Pre-thread 3 or 4 or 5 different colors of thread there, then all you have to do is zip it out and sew the button on. And my last hint is, of course, everyone has scissors. I don't know about your office or your house, but if it's like mine, they tend to walk off. So this is what my staff does, is they put their names on their scissors, and then I can't walk off with them. I think these hints will make your office a little bit more efficient. I travel a lot, and I've run across some really great hints that have made my life easier, and I think they will you too. When you travel by air, you usually get an itinerary, and it has your tickets in it. Well, here's what I do. I use this all during the trip, and I put all my hotel receipts, my cab receipts, everything in the back, and it keeps a nice compact travel folder. Then also on the back of it, I list my expenses between cabs, lunches, etc. And then on this side, I write all the people that I've called. When I get back home, this is my complete travel packet, and it serves as a good reference for the IRS. You know, spots and stains don't happen just at home. They do happen in the office, and they're particular ones. Things like coffee, ballpoint ink, lipstick, pen, pencil. You should always have a little an emergency spot and stain kit in the office. At the very minimum, you need rubbing alcohol. Dry cleaning solvent is very good to have. A stain stick. And you can always use bar soap to get things like makeup off of clothing. And the little travel hair shampoos that you don't know what to do with, they're great to keep at the office. The #1 question I get all the time is, how do I get ballpoint ink and lipstick out of washable clothing? Well, the answer is the same for both. It's rubbing alcohol. If you're taking it off a material, you want to put absorbent padding underneath where the stain is, put rubbing alcohol, on a cloth, and then dab gently or rub very lightly at the stain, and it's all gone. You know the thing about cleaning up at work, it's kind of like at home. You're the one that has to do it. Well, here's an easy way to do it, and hopefully others will follow lead. If you have, by cheap liquid detergent, leave this much in, fill the rest with water so it's very thin. You set that by the sink. Then all they have to do is put a squirt in a coffee mug, rinse it out, and there are no excuses not to clean it. Now back to our yucko coffee carafe here. Put a little bit of the diluted liquid soap in there, add a couple blobs of vinegar, which helps get rid of hard water spots, and you can swish it around, and if that cleans up, it's fine. Or you can do what they do in a lot of cafes, is they put ice, many times crushed ice, into the carafe, and then as you swirl this around, the ice tends to clean it up, and this one is pretty bad. I think it's about 90% done. Then all you have to do is rinse it out several times. And the real hint is once you're done, is if every time you rinse it out, if you wipe the inside out with a paper towel, then it doesn't build up, and you are not the one who has to clean it out all the time. I really hope these help you. How many times have you walked out of the house and forgotten your lunch? Here's some hints so you won't have that happen to you again. If you make your lunch the night before, it needs to go in the fridge. If you make it in the morning, put it in one of these designer bags that we all know, and you can either tie it to the fridge door or attach it, hang it over the handle, and then you see it and you can't get out of the house without it. Now the other thing is, I like this one, is you make it early in the morning or even the night before too. Put it in a self-sealing bag so you can check that everything's there. You don't need to use paper bags. You put it inside the fridge, and then the Heloise hint is you put your house or car keys on top of your lunch, and guess what? You can't get out of the house without them. Same thing works at work going back home. If you run out for lunch and you buy some milk or eggs that need to go home, if you put them in the fridge and put your keys on top of them, you can't get out without them. And many of us use these really nice containers to take our lunch to work, and what happens is they usually don't make it home. So if you want to write your name on the top and the bottom in indelible ink, it'll probably stay through 5 or 6 washings, then this container will make it home. I hope you've enjoyed this collection of some of my favorite hints. Bye for now.